Yeah, good evening. Hello, namaste. I am Professor Abha Singh. I am here today to take session on neurofeminism, a scientific perspective. So I welcome all academic fraternity on this important session on neurofeminism. This session is in two parts. Part A, we will talk about conceptual understanding of neurofeminism. And part B, we will talk about application of neurofeminism in education, teachers training, and family setup. So I hope many of you must be aware with the latest concept, latest evidence in neuroscience which has come, and that is neurofeminism. I am thankful to Teaching Learning Center of Ramanujam Delhi University College to give me an opportunity to interact with you on this important topic on the theme of feminism, which is the training program going on for 2 weeks. And on this topic, I myself, as a psychologist, behavioral scientist, I am surprised that it took so long to debunk the myths of neurofeminism and feminism. So let's try to understand from scientific perspective, how do we understand neurofeminism and how it is linked with our self, with our understanding of individual, our personality, and how it can be linked with our daily life. So, how would we use this concept of neurofeminism and use in our daily life? Let's try to understand the significance, the importance of neurofeminism and try to link with our everyday living. I don't know how many of you are aware of this concept of neurofeminism. And that's where I thought, let me bring this to you in the context of this topic which is going on for your training for 2 weeks, feminist teaching and research in higher education, theory and practice. How do we use this neurofeminism in our daily life? And it's a question to all of you to reflect, to introspect, to think. How can we bring this change in our mindset to bring change in the gender balance approach in our society, in our education? Let's try to understand how this neuroscientific approach of neurofeminism in the neuroscience context applies to all of us. If we understood that neurofeminism is something which divides us, no. If you ask me as a scientist, it unifies us, it unites us. So before we start in the detail of the conceptual understanding, I want to check your prior knowledge on neurofeminism. You must be aware that whenever a class is conducted as a professors and teaching community, we all like to check the levels of learning, whatever age and stage we are in. I know we are in that digital mode, so I tried to bring something creative to innovate here, and let's try this and do this activity while you go through this lecture. And it's mandatory for all of you, those who go through this lecture, to do this activity to proceed further. The activity is like this. You please take out paper and pen, write your name and write your parents' name, and then draw the following professions. You don't have to use words, sentence to express the profession. You have to express the profession through drawing. Like surgeon, when you hear this word and this profession, how would you picturize this? Similarly, pilot, chef, teacher, engineer, fashion designer, financial analyst, judge, president, secretary, nurse, and architect. And you can add in your list as per your wish if you want more names of profession to be included. Now we have a profession of data scientists. You can conduct this activity on any individual to understand their gender biases. And how do we know this? Through activity. It's very interesting. My dear fellow colleagues, it's very interesting. If you have drawn more human figure, and if you think of a symbol, it reflects your approach towards gender. While I am telling you, you must draw this so that when I give you the result, you know where you are coming from. What is your thought process? What kind of mindset? What kind of biases you're going through it? So if you have drawn, there are 12 professions. If you have more human figure or more symbols, surgeon, if I draw a man or woman, or I draw a apparatus or instrument of medical science. So what kind of figure I have drawn? The more human figure, the more gender biases I have. The more symbol I draw, more objective and gender balanced person I am, or gender neutral person I am. So you have to check yourself in gender bias approach, more if you have drawn male figure or more you have drawn female figure. So you can check your scores and identify where you are coming from, which biases you are going through in your mind, and accordingly we create our stereotypes. And that's what neurofeminism is. Feminism is the way by which we use your neurology to shape the world you want to inhabit in every day, every moment. Right now, also, if I'm speaking to you all, interacting with you all, you are having some thought process. So your neurology is already in function, your nervous system or brain is already in function. So it is using that senses, the processes of information processing centers in your brain, and you are visualizing things in front of you on the screen, and you are making meaning out of it. So our brain is a meaning-making mechanism, an organism. So how do we train it? How do we nurture it? It depends upon us. At this stage, when you are adult learner, you decide. But when you are young kid, when you are in formative years, when you're learning school, college, there are a lot of support system and ecosystem which help us to develop this. So this is how we need to understand that our nervous system, which is a part of our brain, and when we talk of neurofeminism, we must know that our brain is a single organ which controls all body functions. So how important it is. The same importance we have as we have for heart, liver, and kidney. But we don't talk about it. Everybody should know, because this is like a machine we have, like a computer system, central processing unit. And it processes the information, what you see in the environment, and use sensory and nervous system to transmit the neurons, and there is a again firing in your brain to connect with the information and flow with the information and make meaning out of it. So that's what we need to understand, that how this neurology shapes the world which you inhabit in. Every moment it is happening, at present also it is happening. Moving further, we have this division of seeing male, female separately. The biocultural perspective which we have, the biological difference which we have, social difference which we have, cultural difference we have. But how do we understand these differences? Is it more stereotyped, or is it more gender based approach which has been given by society? It's a famous saying, a famous philosopher who said, we all are born as humans, but we become male or female by the gender roles which we get from society. That's where we need to think as educator, that how we are using the information in the environment to create a balanced environment for everybody to feel equal. And that feeling of equality is very important to grow in life, grow from within, and also grow outside, like a progress happening. You can watch person's progress happening. So this is important to note. Even the color code has been decided that this is for male, this is for female. I don't think that blue color is not liked by women. So that's where we need to understand this color psychology, that information which has been given to us in compartments. Is it scientific? Is there any evidence on this? That's what I am raising question in front of you all. So as per a neurofeminist argument goes, we have two broad categories: liberal view and radical view. Liberal view is that we need to have gender equality. Freedom should be given. Independence should be given. And radical view is more coming, that is from patriarchal society, patriarchal approach, perspective, that cause of women oppression is because of that gender differences, and also the root cause is the oppression of women due to patriarchal society. So we need to come out from this two thoughts and try to see what each thought is conveying. Radical feminism is conveying that we need to have the feminism which talks about the problems where it is located, and how patriarchal gender relations which led to oppression, suppression of women and feminism need to be talked about. And there is a dominance of male supremacy. And when we see the liberal feminism, they talk more about equality, gender equality. How you have a liberal view to create a balance in the society. So more for looking forward for gender equality. So we need to understand this view of radical feminism and liberal feminism to understand the problem. Even you need to appreciate the differences. But at what cost? I need to question, I always question as a scientist. We need to appreciate the differences which help us grow. Which doesn't help us grow, we need to discuss those differences rather not talking or rather suppressing it. So that's the point we need to understand. So neurosexism, that's how from this concept, the neurosexism, feminism, the neurosexism, that myth which we carry regarding men and women have a different brains, that's what the concept of neurofeminism is. Let's understand this myth. So current, as I was telling you initially in my talk, that how neuroscience has changed the way we think, what we think. And current neuroscience research speaks of how sex gender is in the brain, not off the brain. Very important point. It is not in the brain or not off the brain. It is something which we need to discuss. It's fact, not fiction. There were fiction books. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It divided the two community drastically. I don't accept this. I don't agree on that as a scientist. So neurosexism is the use of neuroscience research to support pre-existing ideas about hardwired sex differences. So how do we see these sex differences in our brain capacity? That's what we need to understand. Biological difference is being male and female. But other differences, socio-cultural differences is given by society, given by parents, given by family, given by training, and given by educators. So two important agents, social agents we need to remember is one is education, teachers, faculty, and other is parent. Then other agents fall in place because you have already influenced by those two agents strongly. So let's understand more what it talks about. Traditionally, in 18th century, the male and female were divided. They were determined to look differences, and that is how they depicted, which I have depicted in slide here, that male brain looks like this and female brain looks like this. And in the end, they also gave this that men could be good in politics, and the social jobs suitable to them, and women were more in nurturing jobs. Who decided that? That's where this traditional approach of looking at and a lot of experiments and research conveys there was no definite answer. So that's how this fascinating area of research came out during 20th century that male female looks alike. And more so it persisted in science and media, and how this myth was debunked. And we understand that brains are similar. Further, I'll let you know how we need to understand the differences. And we need to question when we talk about other organs of body, heart, kidney, do we talk like male heart and female heart, male kidney, female kidney? It's a body organ. We are like instrument, We have different organs in our body, which is controlled by brain. Single organism, that is brain, I told you, is a single organ which controls the body. So there must be some similarity. That's why we all are existing. We all are breathing right now. We all are breathing. This is a sensory function. This is the automatic nervous system which is functioning right now, and we are all breathing. So it's not that only men are breathing, women are not breathing. We all are breathing. So that's what I'm trying to draw your attention towards this area of neurofeminism. And my suggestion and advice would be, if you can get hold of this book, The Gendered Brain. Gina Rippon is a scientist who has done a lot of work in this area. And she says her central message is that we live in the gendered world with gendered brain. And that's how she wants to break this mindset, obstacles, and barrier for humans to look at brain as a organ which is similar organ like other organ in our body. And latest concept of brain plasticity we talk about, brain agility we talk about. So a lot of things convey that there's a lot of scope for development. And when we talk about gendered brain, that means this has been set like a training given to us previously in our life, and we go by that. And that's how we are gendered. Whether we have good things in our life to think for each gender or bad things about each gender. So this is the history of bias. I think we can go on talking on this. As I conveyed that when you think of a girl and boy, why we have a different kind of thinking. This is how we have given this demarcation. That if she's a girl, she's more compassionate, more emotional. Boy, then thoughtless, logical, funny, and I think we can go on making the list. So we need to understand that how male and female brain can think and can have both aspects. Male can also be compassionate. Today we are talking of emotional intelligence. Why we think emotions are only for girls? No, I'm sorry, it's not for girls only. Emotion has no gender. Research has proved that. We need to teach our boys, we need to teach our men how to express emotions. Why only girls were given this training? So again, question comes here, where our mothers have gone wrong, where our parents have gone wrong in training us. So that's where this neurofeminism concept is very important in recent times to look at and challenge those biases and stereotypes in our society, which we see every day, and try to change it, try to again debunk those myths as well. Going forward, that how our brain is gendered, we need to understand, as I told you, brain is no more gendered now with this latest discovery in the concept of neurofeminism. It is same as our liver, kidney, heart. So neurofeminism goal is to debunk the concept of gendered brain. Now brain is no more gendered than the liver, kidney, or heart. So I wish, and I'm confident as a scientist, with this understanding, you will start thinking in this concept and start thinking to bring to your awareness how you are using the concept of neurofeminism in your daily life. This concept is to bring balance, bring understanding, bring similarity. And yes, differences can be discussed, but not divide into two communities. We all are humans first, then we are male or female. So with this, I complete part A. Thank you.